said this is going to be driven through our workshop process. We're not going to be predetermining what might occur. We're just going to present the issues on sustainability, greenhouse gas, and those type of things. And so this is what the community came out with.
So, Patrick, are you saying that after one or two workshops, the community identified the 2 commercial corridors as a site they would like low-income housing located at? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay, all right.
Don't repeat that.
No, well, that's why I'm asking.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Because that never came out of anyone's mouth here, Mike.
No,
Okay.
that's just
Okay.
trying to figure out.
The community talked about, for example, on when we went to New Encinitas, and we were talking about New Encinitas and what that community is about. One of the things that they came out of that was a theme was they'd love to have a village-type commercial center on El Camino Real. They'd like to have a village, like downtown. Which means, without saying it, Mike, what means more intensity, more commercial. They want the plazas, they want the activity. And so we took those things in those workshops, and they weren't saying give us 30 units per acre, they weren't saying give us more commercial, but they were saying we want an identity. And I thought that was kind of a neat thing for residents to say that we would like to have a town.
But Pat, I'm still struggling with 100 to 200 people making these suggestions, people that actually have time to go to a community meeting, that haven't looked at the economic impacts and are representing 60,000 people.
Right.
And yet everybody here, we weren't there.
Right.
You know, have they looked at the economic impacts of doing some of this to a commercial property?
We have an economic study. We don't look at it specifically to a piece of property. We look at it in relationship to what can the city hold in additional commercial square footage and residential. So it does look at those things, but not as an individual property. But again, this zoning, if it's approved ultimately by the council, doesn't mandate you to build mixed use.
No, but it certainly precludes you, if you're going in to do some improvements to your property, to maybe do some of the things you might want to do, or forces you to do other things you might not want to do.
Yeah, I think that's the concern a lot of us have is,
Yeah.
I understand and I fully believe that your intentions are correct here, but let's say 10 years down the road we go to pull a permit because XYZ company wants a drive-through, and it's a discretionary thing, and some staffer looks and says, well, hey, wait a minute, you don't have a mixed-use element in your project,
And
and
that's
this says mixed use.
Right, and that's what it's going to be important. We are now looking at drafting the zoning regulations so that we can make sure that that doesn't occur. Okay? So those are going to be key to the process. Now, we're not there yet, so that's what's good about this meeting. We can incorporate those type of things into the zoning, because we wouldn't want that to occur. So if you're coming in with a new use, well, the use would have to be, we've always said, the general commercial uses, or what would be in the mixed use. Okay, so you wouldn't lose anything that way. So if you wanted to expand a grocery store, okay, Ralph's expanded years ago, and expanded that a grocery store. That's not something that we're going to say, sorry, now you got to do mixed use. That doesn't make sense. This is really for someone that either you or a new property owner comes in, buys it, and they say they want to do rip down and build mixed use. Okay? It's not to prevent you from Co-America Bank to change to retail. Or if you can do a 100 square foot addition on that building or something, it's not to prevent that. You know, you're going to be regulated by your parking. Is mostly what it's going to be on today's standards. But what this is doing is, right now, and you might be regulated by your lot size. I don't know how intent you are, but it's a 30% lot coverage. We're looking at increasing that up to 60 or 70% lot coverage, because to try and accommodate those things, you know, with the new zoning.
If you're going to, I'm just asking now, if today's regulations on parking are going to be applied to a set of goals that are to reduce that and to increase bicycles, are we going to say we're going to be able to substitute 10 cars for now what you want is 10 bicycles? Or are we going to impact the parking in relationship to
right. The parking reduction would be more in relationship to saying having multifamily condos there with your commercial, because you have a synergy occurring within it. We're looking at, there might be policies in the general plan that as cycling increases, maybe we can reduce parking requirements. But I think we wrote it in a draft form that looks at more of a performance standard. We want to see that happening before we reduce parking. But within the mixed use, there tends to be a reduction in parking for the commercial and the multifamily because there could be potential co-use.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that it?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Just so I'm clear here, so if I were to sell my business and someone else bought it and said, we want to redevelop this site into, as a car dealership, but we want to redevelop this site and put a different looking building up here with maybe a different franchise, you're going to tell them that they need to do mixed use in that new building because it's a new redevelopment in
Yeah,
part
no,
of it as a
if you're
car
just,
dealership?
let's say, well, for the car dealerships, and we'll be going through that with some slides, is there's an overlay. I mentioned that to you before. We want to protect the car dealerships. And because they are an economic driver and they're an important aspect to the community. We haven't written those regulations yet, but we want to allow that. So that would allow, say, a scrape down and a rebuild as a car dealership. Now, for example, let's say Ralph Center wanted to do a scrape down, okay, and build it to 30% lot coverage. The zoning, we haven't written the zoning, but the zoning could allow that. In other words, he didn't take advantage of the mixed use. To take advantage of the mixed use, you're talking about 60, 70% lot coverage and 30 units per acre. There's quite a difference there. But generally, they might do it for a car dealership, but they won't do it probably for a Ralph Center, to scrape it down and rebuild it as a Ralph Center. Usually they're going to scrape it down and take advantage of the new zoning, which will give them tremendous development opportunity.
Well, yeah, my question is, there's a difference between take advantage and have to take advantage. Are they going to have to take advantage whether they want to or not?
We haven't written that, but if someone wanted to scrape down, say, the Ralph Center and build it as it is, then that's probably not taking advantage of any new zoning. So it's under 30% lot coverage, it's a sea of parking, and that's probably not